Laura Ingraham, of course, hosts the Ingraham Angle right here. She's our friend, and we're grateful to have her in our studio tonight. So, Laura, thanks a lot for coming.
Absolutely.
As you're preparing for your show tonight. There's a big media angle to this. The press really drove a lot of this behavior and drove this investigation. At Fox, we're allowed to say by our network whatever we think is true, and they support us completely in that, and I'm grateful for it. You watch the other coverage, and really, it's just they're reading every hour is reading from the same. Maddow clearly says what she wants to say.
Yeah.
Everybody else seems to be reading from some script that Jeff Zucker wrote. How implicated are these channels in the travesty that we just
I think
saw?
the collusion between the media apparatus, the dominant media apparatus other than Fox, and the DNC, the deep state, is profound. And the international elites who wanted this all to be true. We have to remember there's an international angle here, which, you know, we're looking at the Ukraine angle and all. There's an international angle here because Donald Trump came along and he was the great disruptor on the scene. He's like, I don't buy into what you're doing at the EU, God bless you. I don't buy into all your wine cellars and your confabs and your think tanks. And this whole industry employs thousands and thousands of people. And Donald Trump said, this isn't working well for the United States. He was an existential threat to them. They cheered this whole thing on. They shell out the money for all these conferences for people like John Meacham, I like John Meacham. He's a really talented writer. But when someone like John Meacham got caught up in this at MSNBC, I was looking at this, he said, you know, this is the very definition basically of treason. What Donald Trump did. He's a historian. This guy is like a Pulitzer Prize winning, you know, writer. When someone like that can get caught and ensnared in this frothy frenzy to get Trump, we have a big problem on our hands. And I'm so glad. I watched every minute of your show tonight, Tucker, and as I do every night. But what you said about the need for consequences and repercussions, it's just like with things like Jussie Smollett or UVA rape case or what happened with the Kavanaugh leaks. There needs to be repercussions. Either the public needs to, you know, decide maybe we should watch something else, or there needs to be a criminal investigation by Bill Barr into how this all went down. The FISA warrants, the leaks that happened, all this stuff has to be looked at. This cannot happen to another president of the United States.
Well, I agree, or a Democrat or a Republican.
I don't care who you are. The criminalization of politics brought down individuals who were caught up in the gears and the machinery of the prosecution complex in this country.
No, but that's literally true. So, look, people call for my firing every day. I'm not calling for anyone else's.
Ditto.
And you're still, I know.
No, I don't like fire. I'm just saying, don't think more slowly about these issues.
No, but I agree, but I just wonder, and I'm so grateful to work here. Let me just say that again. But I wonder, how can Jeff Zucker continue to run that channel after what we just saw? So they brought in newly released people from the government who would run our agencies, who clearly were getting information about this investigation, and putting it on the air as propaganda. It turned out to be lies. Like, how can you do that?
And all that, you know, I think it's the Buddha said the finger's always pointed back at you. So everything they say about Trump, it's like state-run TV, you're colluding. And the colluding and the state-run TV is like they're working for the deep state or the elite state or whatever you want to call it. So they're all colluding. And Trump is like, wait a second, I'm this guy from New York. I came in. I actually want to make this country better. I'm like my own man, and I know I'm going to tick you off, but I actually want America to thrive and be prosperous. And really well thought of people who are smart people are throwing the word treason, traitor. The guy should be in handcuffs. He should be let out of the Oval Office. All of these people tonight should look at themselves in the mirror and think, maybe I need to re-examine how I speak on these issues in the future. Not that we don't all make mistakes. We do. I do. You do. We all do.
I've made big mistakes.
Yeah, and as do I. But these were pronouncements that would destroy families, destroy presidencies, and as you pointed out earlier, and I'm so glad you did, the lost opportunities that we might have actually worked with countries that could box out China on things. I mean, do we really not want to work with Russia on anything? Ever again? Because last time I checked, China has the biggest threat to the United States. Russia's economy, what, is the size of France's?
Yeah, Texas.
I mean, it's like, come on. It's
they can't build a working escalator.
So now Russia and China are doing military exercises, and we're on the sidelines going, okay, we got to act really mean on everything with Russia because of this Mueller investigation. It had a profound policy effect, I think, on our government. And that we'll never know, really, the effect on the American people, our geopolitical position. That must be examined.
And also in the social fabric. And I notice it here, like you, I'm not from Washington, but I've spent most of my life here. I know you have too. I've known you for most of that time. This city has become paranoid, distrustful, angry. I talk to people all the time. I can't text that to you. I don't trust my... What do you mean you don't trust your text? What country is this? I can't have this conversation. I'm too nervous. People are afraid. Do you want to live in a place where people are afraid?
Where the prosecution state becomes so big and so powerful, a mere accusation can turn your life upside down.
Yes.
Now, Donald Trump has a lot of money. He can defend himself.
That's right.
He happened to be innocent of these charges. He knew it all along. And everyone who said, oh, you know, why is he meeting behind closed doors with the Russians? Why did he put Putin on the back? Whatever criticism. Maybe it's because he realized he had an obligation to the American people to look past Mueller, as hard as it was, and actually try to do the right thing in the moment for the country. They never gave him that benefit of the doubt, and he deserved that benefit of the doubt, and he never got it from them.
What happens next?
I think the left is going to go into a deeper rage. I think they'll learn nothing from this, sadly. Maybe some of the smarter folks like Meacham and others will. But I think now it's going to turn to, it's not transparent. Barr was brought in to be the cleanup man here. This isn't a serious review. So I think, again, like we're seeing on the socialism lurch, they're lurching towards socialism, slouching towards socialism. I think in this case, they're going to be in a very precarious position with the internal anger from the activists who thought, you know, we finally got the Roadrunner. We finally got Wiley. It's like the Acme TNT. We finally got him, and also it's like meep, meep, he's like gone again. So I think they're going to freak. I mean, I think they're going to freak, and I don't think much is going to change. But it's going to mean they're going to move more radical on the policy front and try to whip up more enthusiasm that way. I don't see what else they do. I mean, to put all their hope on the Southern District. Are we going to go back to that now? Southern District of New York,
which is grotesquely politicized.
Yeah.
So you are on in 1 hour and 6 minutes.
Why don't you hang around, Tucker?
Who's on?
We have Joe DeGeneva, we have Ken Starr, we have Robert Ray, both independent counsel, of course. And we have Byron York's going to look at the media angle. We're going to have a great show, so we're looking forward to it. And Devin Nunes is going to join us.
Sitting in my living room with a Perrier, watching every minute, as I do every night. It's great to see you.
Tucker, it's always great to be on it. Anytime.
Senior Department of Justice official telling our own Jake Gibson, quote, Special Counsel Mueller is not recommending any further indictments. Again, the news coming from the Department of Justice, a senior DOJ official, quote, Special Counsel Robert Mueller not recommending any further indictments.
Well, that's significant, Brett, although I think it's when it comes to this, you know, the question we're all waiting finally at long last for the answer to, on this question of collaboration. It's been discussed at some length throughout all of this, whether if there were such collaboration, it would be a crime. And if Mr. Mueller decides that no indictment should ensue because of that, that doesn't necessarily mean he didn't find any improper hanky-panky between the Trump campaign and the Russians. It may just be that he found that it wasn't criminal. Now, my own sense about this is that it's hard to imagine that it's come as far as we have, with as much effort has been made to investigate this whole matter, both inside and outside the government, that if there'd been any such thing, we wouldn't have heard about it by now. But it is worth keeping in mind that there is this legal question of whether if it had been turned up, it would have even been a crime, and therefore if there are no further indictments, that might not mean that they found nothing improper.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that we don't know yet, but that sentence in and of itself, after all of the months and months of speculation of what could happen, the fact that they are saying that this special counsel report does not recommend any further indictments is significant in and of itself, just on its face. It's right to point out that the Southern District of New York is continuing its investigation, that there are more investigations on Capitol Hill. But if this report, Britt, does not deliver the punch that perhaps critics of the president or Democrats had hoped it would, and it seemed like the coverage over recent days, there was a preparation for that fact up on Capitol Hill. If it doesn't, will the president then take that and say, see, I told you so, you need to stop and move on and get things done?
Yeah, he undoubtedly will say that, and I would suggest this, Brett, that Democrats on Capitol Hill have already been signaling that even if he doesn't find anything in the neighborhood of collaboration, that they intend to pursue that issue further, particularly Adam Schiff on the House Intelligence Committee intends to pursue that. I think if Mueller comes out and there is nothing suggesting improper behavior between the president and the Russians before the election, I think a lot of the political wind will go out of those sails, because a lot of people are going to look at this and say, "Come on! I mean, you've been pursuing this all this time. Now Mueller, whose long-awaited report is upon us, he didn't find anything. What are you doing?" So my sense about that is that while those investigations may drag on, they may have to drag on with a lot less media attention than they once would have hoped for.